Peace, peace. Once again, we're back with a new episode of Moorish Masterminds with Shem, brother Shem. So I'm just going to go ahead here and get us started. And so everybody can get familiar. Well, basically, I'm looking forward to having our brother come on shortly. And before we do that, I'm going to go and provide just the background of everything, as I usually do. So let me just go into it real quick so everybody can get an understanding of what this is about. So on this particular episode, we'll be having a discussion. I'll be talking with author and scholar Eric Mungin Bey, my good brother out of Richmond, Virginia, divine minister and adept of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science in Richmond, Virginia. Brother Eric will be discussing his book, Noble Soul, The Mystical Sciences of the Man, the Moor, and the Message, as well as speaking on topics such as who is Noble Drew Ali, what is a prophet, Prophet Drew, the Egyptian adept, how did the prophet begin to uplift the Moorish Americans, what is Moorish Science, and also what is the Circle 7, and much, much more. As promised, as I always promise, you'll be hearing from yet another influential mastermind in Moorish Science. And I just want to say here that I'm really a particular show at this time. One of the reasons is that this will be his first interview. He has not done any interviews in reference to his book or any other book. He actually has this is not his first book, by the way. We're going to get into that. And he has a new book coming out also as well. I'll let him speak on that. So yeah, I'm just really excited right now on all of that. Just to give you some background about how I met the brother Eric Mungin Bey. I first met him some years ago at the 11th Moorish Unity Summit in Washington, D.C. That was the first time I saw the brother. And I had my table there. I had my, my literature. This is when all I had, I think, was Who is Elohim, my first book on Moorish Science at the time. And he gave me his book. The book that he had was on the Moorish questionnaire at the time. That was the book that he had. He gave it to me as a gift, and I was honored. First time meeting the brother, and I felt his spirit. Good brother, very good brother. Later on, we met again at the Moorish Unity Summit that we ended up having in North Carolina, close to Durham by our temple. We have our temple in North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, and he did an excellent demonstration. We're going to speak on that when we get a chance. And also went to his temple, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science in Richmond, Virginia. And this brother's he's a humble brother, but yet he's full of so much wisdom. I told him that he is definitely a hidden jewel in this movement, because we have a lot of teachers out there, a lot of great scholars, some more known than others, done great works, but you pretty much know them. They put themselves out there, they promote themselves heavy, which is rightfully so, understandably so. But this brother is so humble that you have to be in his presence to really know, just to really receive how much wisdom this brother has, how much insight, spiritual insight he has. He's one of those true faithful Moors that has been part of this movement since a child. He grew up in this movement. He grew up in the temple. I'll let him tell you his story. So to give you insight, this is not somebody who just came along a few years ago, read some books, saw some videos, and then started to, you know, write a bunch of books. No, he actually grew up in this movement. So he's giving you things from a perspective that not many can give. So I'm really, really excited about having him on. And being that this is actually his first, be the first interview that he's ever done. Is this, of course, being the first interview done on YouTube. You know, I'm trying to get him on the actual Google Hangouts to see if he can get on. If not, what I'll probably end up doing is just making the call and just putting it out that way, because I really really want to have him here. Just give you some overall view description of the book itself: Noble Soul, The Mystical Sciences of the Man, the Moor and the Message, by brother Eric Mungin Bey, Divine Minister. And again, I put the link up there on the chat, so you can get it on Amazon. If you don't have it, go order it right now. It basically says, absorb the mystical sciences of Noble Drew Ali with an insight of numerology and astrology within the vision of symbolism and sacred names that will reveal a profound and astonishing reality. Born from the highest altitude attainable by human conception, love manifests the presence and the attributes of the universal creator that became immersed into the great and humble noble soul. And of course, that's none other than Noble Drew Ali. And I forgot to mention the other book that he gave, I believe was his first book, is called Discover the Key to the Moorish Questionary, a guide for all Moorish Americans. And that was the book that he gave me. It blew my mind. That book blew my mind. And then when he came with this, oh my goodness. So I know his next book is going to be really, really powerful. Something that everybody can enjoy. Islam, Brother Ty Islam, Brother Raphael Hakeem Bey, Islam Moors. I'm glad y'all can make it. I sent him the link, so I'm thinking that he got it. I'm going to go ahead and send my brother a text. See if he got the message, see if he got the link. If not, we're just going to go ahead and do this kind of old school, kind of flip and bounce it, where we can, I'll have him on speakerphone so we can go ahead and have this conversation, because I really want him to really go into this book. Yeah, this brother here, like, when there's some brothers who, has an insight on a spiritual level, not just when they speak, but just how they conduct themselves. If you can go, you can check his Facebook page, and you can see what I'm talking about. He's in the martial arts, a musician. I mean, this brother is a master of a lot of different trades. So, and he's going to speak on that basically when we get him on. Let's see if he can go here. I know he's new to the Google Hangouts thing, so we'll see what's up. But while we're waiting, I want to talk on some things in reference to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because this is the subject matter, the metaphysics of Drew Ali. Some of you were able to check out the last show I did with Dr. Alim Bey. And what we talked on was a lot of the history pertaining to Noble Drew Ali, in reference to Canaanite Temple, etc. And we're going to get into some history as well, but I wanted to also speak on a lot of insights on a lot of things that we didn't get into on the last show. I think this is a great continuation of our last conversation, the last show that we did. So that's really key, because with that we can kind of get into more about the importance of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. You know, for those of us who are in the temple and we're very familiar with the lessons, of course, we know within our Moorish questionnaire, the question is asked, who is Noble Drew Ali? He is a prophet of Allah. Okay. And we know that a prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in flesh. And the duty of a prophet is to save nations from the wrath of Allah. And that's really a great way to sum up the prophet, because Prophet Noble Drew Ali, being a thought of Allah, is one who is really manifesting the highest level, you know, coming from the highest plane of light. Really the highest frequency of vibration you can have is the thought of Allah. And that's what we're really trying to get into. That's what we are striving as people who are, whether we say we're Muslims, you know, children of the Most High, etc. That's what we're really striving to be, one with Allah. And that's what's necessary. So to really go into basically what is important with the knowing the history of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, then we're able to actually, you know, get into knowing what it is that we need to do. So based on that alone, I think that's something that is to be definitely definitely dealt into. What I'm about to do now, I just see communication from the brother, is I'm about to call my brother and put him on a speakerphone so we can have this conversation. Now, this is different. So I'm going to ask everybody, if you're on the chat, I want you to just give me some feedback to let me know that you can hear the brother. And if not, just let me know, like, you know, I can't hear the brother, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll just take it from there. We're just going to go straight in and have them build on it. So let me do this right here. Islam, Moore.
Yeah, right.
Islam, I have you on speakerphone.
All right,
so Islam, so we're basically we're live on the live stream, and
all right.
Okay, so we can go ahead and just go into it. Basically, so I want to first extend my honors to you and gratitude for you being on the show and taking your time out, Islam. And I gave the people an introduction, and I'm going to reintroduce you as well. You are, of course, a divine minister, Brother Eric Mungin Bey, from the Moorish Holy Temple of Science in Richmond, Virginia. And you have a couple of books out. You are the author of a couple of books that have already been published. The one we're speaking on now is Noble Soul. And I wanted to ask you, just getting straight to it, before we even get into the book, brother, to try to get people familiar with you as an author and as a person who came to this knowledge. Could you give us some background about you, as to who you are, how you came into the knowledge of Prophet Noble Drew Ali? Because you have a very interesting story that we've talked about in the past.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Praise the Lord. It began in with my family. It was way back in the 60s. And my uncle started it. My father came from a family of 8. Out of the 8, only 2 joined the temple, which was my uncle. And my uncle introduced it to my father, and my father took it on. So I was going to temple number 10 in North New Jersey. And from there, from North New Jersey, I think back in the 60s, I was so young, so I really didn't know. I just felt it. Spiritually, I felt it was right. On the other flip side, my mother was a Christian. So there was a lot of controversy as a child going on my mind. What's going on? Because when my mother brought me to church, I actually ran out. I couldn't. The spirit was like I ran out. So my father and my mother decided to be neutral. And when we got to a certain age, me and my brother, we choose our own. And I'm gonna speed forward because there's a lot of history dealing with that. So in the meantime, I'm at the age of 24. And that's when it all began. Everything began to unfold at the age of 24. Within 3 years, I became an adept. And went to teacher school and developed a whole different, thing of learning. What's interesting is that I was more familiar with self as a child. And what I mean by that, I was aware of certain things. So I was at a time where they started the black as a child, and I couldn't stand it. As for some reason, I didn't know why. I just I couldn't stand it. So, growing up, it's like, all right, Dad, why you obey? I couldn't understand it. I was like, I was like, whoa. And when I got to that age, my life was cheating. But at the age of 27, when I began getting to the chamber and stuff like that and go to teacher school, I began to have some clarity in trying to find some clarity within myself. So that's pretty much the basis of how I got introduced into the organization and its teachers. And the teacher that was on the scene was Brother Hamid A. Hill. And Brother Hamid A. Hill was a brother. He's also in my book. I had gratitude towards him, but he was my father's teacher, and then he became my teacher. And he joined the temple in 1928. We went into the chamber under the founder as well. And then we got further instructed under the reincarnated prophet, for those who know, the John Gibbons Hill, which goes into a whole different paradigm in certain teaching. So I got really pretty much deep into the study, but it really didn't unfold for about maybe 12 years. I've been in this organization as a member for 32 years. So I'm unseen and unheard because it's the things that I'm doing. And it's a whole lot of work within yourself. To give you an example from what I'm referring to, if y'all familiar with Chapter 3, Chapter 3 is a 3-year course. Not 3 years. The prophet just summed it up to that particular chapter, but that's a 3-year course. So, it's a whole lot when things begin to unfold. The lessons that we get, we don't pretty much understand it until your mind has been prepared for it. So that's pretty much my background as coming up in the temple.
Islam, praise Allah. And I wanted to add to that. Now you did state about the fact that you were pretty much raised in the temple. And
right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, now I know you're currently in Richmond, Virginia, but you started out in New Jersey. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I was at Newark, right? Mm-hmm.
You said Newark, New Jersey.
New Jersey. Yes,
Praise
sir.
Allah, which is where the Prophet, founded the movement.
Mm-hmm.
Praise
exactly.
Allah. Now, can you give us at that time kind of paint a picture of Newark, New Jersey at that time when you was growing up, as far as the scene with the Moors? You know, what was what was it like?
Well, as a child, I didn't really understand a lot of things, but I noticed that there's people around me with red something on their head. I didn't know what it was, fez or a turban, but it was red, and it was a community. We had Moorish businesses. So they had a lot of businesses in North on Springfield Avenue. That's where the temple was at. So, you know, as a child, you're walking up to the temple, all you see is serving the beds out. It's a lot. And I didn't know at the time, but as I got older, I understood that there were a lot of businesses. And within those businesses, it fell because we did have riots. We called it North riots. We had 2 riots. And as a child, when a riot came out, and we wasn't allowed to go outside. So my father would pull down the shades to don't even look outside. And what my father would do, he'll go outside. But what he did was, before he went outside, he put on his bed, and then he stepped outside. You know, so I really didn't, you know, understand as a child when I see things, and, you know, kind of, you know, maintain that memory of looking at something as a child, is kind of stay with you. But I know when it was the time for us to go back outside, nothing was the same again. Nothing was the same again. And all the Moorish businesses, what happened to them was they pretty much sold out. They sold their business. They wasn't really understanding the economics that they had. So if someone came with a deal with a lot of money, hey, all right, I sell it. You know, they didn't really understand that. So it's something to think about what the Prophet has brought. But it was a strong community of Moors. And along the way, I met a lot of elders. As I got into the temple, I met elders here in Richmond, as well as in North. But Brother H was the oldest. We call him Brother H, but Brother Hamid was the oldest of the elders. And because he was the youngest that became an adept under the founder, and then, you know, so he lived for a long time to pass that wisdom, you know, to the next generation who are in tune with it. Not everybody's going to find a teacher that is suitable, or vice versa. Because to be a teacher, you have to be a good student. To be a good student, you have to be a good teacher. And a little bit of what I'm referring to is like pretty much my background is music, which is I'm actually a drummer. And the other thing is that I was always interested in martial arts. So I was in the martial art world as well. So that's why I was relating to the teaching and student aspect to that.
Islam. Now, you said about the riots, and you said before the riots, Moors had businesses. So to give people a timeline, what year was the riots?
That's probably in the mid-60s, 63, 64, 65, around like that.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, if somebody could pull up, I think it's called Time Magazine, you're gonna see right there on front page Time Magazine and the riots of North. You know, and it went that far as being on Time Magazine. Islam, and just to let people know, there's a section in the book Noble Soul where you speak about Brother H on page 118, and I just want to read a little bit on that. It says, Brother Harry Hamid A.L. was born July 21st, 1908 in Pinewood, South Carolina, to Harry and Sarah Anderson. Brother Hamid united in the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the World in 1928. At the age of 20, before the end of 1928, he entered into the Adept chamber by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He said, quote, when the Prophet looked at him and said, come closer, then he whispered something to him in his ear, and the Prophet stood back and held his finger up and said, don't you never forget that. Right.
Islam. So he was around during the time of the prophet. And that's and just as you mentioned, that, you know, to have a teacher who was there during that era who can give you some insight on how the prophet was during that time is really special. Which leads me to the book. What I like to ask everybody, in particular, when it comes to the aspect of their book, what inspired them. So what inspired you to write this particular book, Noble Soul?
What inspired me was, in my field of learning, I gathered a lot of material from notes and different notes and stuff like that. And, you know, what inspired me from my first book, inspired me from my third book. And what it is actually a lot of combinations of historical events with Brother H. And at the same time, something was unfolding. Information I was finding was unfolding. It was like, you know, like revelations. I was like, wow. So what it was, it's like, all right, this is my calling. This is my purpose. You know, like, when I first started, I was always into history, you know, with the Moors and that. So they didn't have internet back then. We had to go to lectures. Now, I met Ivan Van Serma, and, you know, we could go to New York, go to the Schomburg. We went to Schomburg when they had the Marcus Garvey Bicentennial exhibit. I mean, we just went out as Moors. We even went to the opera as Moors, which is a fascinating story. So we had to go out, we had to go out in the field. We had to go and learn these things. We had to study. And so what inspired me was, I said, all right, let me study a different way. And what it was is that I'm starting now learning the science of numerology, the science of letters and numbers. And what I did is when I arrived to certain information, it was revealing certain information. It's like, wow, you know, this is a lot of work, but maybe something can be more helping to someone, because when you study yourself, you don't know where to begin. So that inspired me to do that. And what's interesting is that the book cover, I always want to use the prophet in the book cover. And something about his eyes, I remember the Cook brother said, his eyes, and that was always attracted me, because the eyes are the windows of your soul, but also it is the science of the eyes. And that science means spiritual nature, which deals with prophecy, observation, intelligence, and vision. So Noah had a vision. You know, he had a prophecy, he had a vision. But what it all started was, when I started to study, he was born in 1886, he was, 1913. For me, that's not years for me. For me, that's a symbol. So that means I got to look up something that's identified with that year or that number, what I call a symbol, and I look into it, I say, all right, maybe, and then I find something. I was like, oh, that's revealing. So that inspired me to do the book, and I got more heavy into it as I was going more into the book. More information was coming to me. And I was like, man, I gotta put this in. I gotta put that in. Like the eel and the bay, the sound frequency, what they mean, the different attributes of it. And then I had a section there, the message. The message, when we honor all divine prophets, why we honor all divine prophets? What did they brought? What is the connection that they brought? And when I found that out, I was like, wow, because the charter says we're supposed to teach the degrees of Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. We're supposed to teach it, but how can you teach something you don't study, you don't know? So I got more into it, and I put that in the book. So that really kind of inspired me. It's exciting because it's like playing chess. You find all this information, trying to put it together, and to do something. So that pretty much inspired me to write it. But not only that, it's to leave something for the future. That it's not for everybody. What I mean by that, not everybody going to gravitate to certain information. But this is information for certain people, just like certain people leave information for certain individuals out there. because you have to be on the same frequency to tie in. I give you a prime example. Sharif A. It was the brother you had on for a while?
Yes.
All right. I never met him. I've seen him, so forth, so I know he's a martial artist. So, but we speak on the same particular level. The reason why I say that, I approach the proper teaching in a martial art way. And then it's a whole different thing, because we can connect. Because there's some things in there that, like, wow, like other people don't know that we deal with martial art. So I was more on the martial art. I was more with the internal, more than the external. So, and I practice Tai Chi. So when you on that particular mindset, you're going to see a different angle to it. And what I've done is brought a different angle to the teaching, but not really different, but just showing you a different way to reveal certain things that you probably wasn't unaware, that you wasn't unaware of. You know, so that's what inspired. Excuse me.
Islam, praise Allah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want to ask more about that, because it's very interesting. Not only brother Sharif Aniel Bey and yourself, the brother Dr. Alim Bey also deals with Qi, Qigong, and all these different things. So it knows that these sciences, the martial arts and the sciences of the breath, etc., channeling your Qi. And I want to ask you about the demonstration also that you did in North Carolina at the Unity Summit. But but in saying that, what I know you said the internal, but
yes,
what specifically in relationship to the teachings, like what stuck out to you in, let's say, in reading our Moorish Holy Quran, Circle 7, what stuck out to you that was able to say, okay, based on my teachings, my learning in martial arts, my learning in Tai Chi, I see the connection?
Yes, the background story to that is my Sufu, Sister Linda Karim, and I studied under her for 5 years. And her Sufu is Fu Zan Wen, out of China. When I was studying with her, because I did sun salutation yoga, and I did the mantras, which actually is in your Quran as well. But when I was studying under her, I will go into the Quran. So that's the Quran. Because what I was taught is that anything that you do in life, you have to connect it to the Quran in some way. So that's what I've done. So within that, I begin to understand and begin to be enlightened by that. So there's different parts of the Quran that deals with, for example, breathing, holy breath. And when she looked at me and she said, wait, you're breathing wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then she explained how to breathe. And then once she did that, my energy level went up. I mean, it really went up. So now I understood the practices incorporated with the Quran, because Numerology taught a lot of things, but this is the key. He said, read my literature carefully. That's the key to me, because you have to read it carefully, which means between the lines. That means something's there, but you have to find it. So, excuse me, trying to shake this system in my little cold. Now, the demonstration, prior to that, I always studied meditation for a long time before I even came into the temple. So I have a great years of over 30 years of certain meditations, and we have the different forms of meditation. And so what I did is demonstrated a form of meditation, and that was the energy purpose. But what y'all didn't know is the music I was playing. I was playing a music to re-energize the form that was in the room. So in order for me to perform that, I have to be energized to send out that energy so that you can be touched by that energy. You know, it's sort of like a Reiki in a way. So how did you feel after that? I mean, just give me an example. How did you feel after that? What was going through your mind?
Well, I could tell you, brother. I mean, it was something, because first off, okay, to give the background to it. One thing you did, you kind of prepped us, which I caught notice of, about the stretching and raising your arms up above your head, and you mentioned about the key of the spinal cord being
Chapter 3.
Yes. And when we did the meditation and focusing on the breathing, and of course I do that. Like, I definitely do the meditation and the breathing. Praise Allah that I was able to, learn about that before. When you do it with a lot of people, you feel the energy is much more amplified. So it was tranquil, but yet it was something. It was a powerful energy that you can feel had permeated the whole entire room, which was really special. I know that my wife, attested to that as well, because she was with me. So yeah, praise Allah. So yeah, it was powerful. No question.
Praise Allah for you, brother, man, and your wife. Journey down to Richmond, and see you again. I remember the first time I met you was in Washington.
Yes.
Yeah, and you were selling the book, and then I met you again at the summit, and then right here in Richmond. So praise Allah for your diligence works as well. One thing I'm gonna say before I even go further, because I always put it in my book, and it's from the Upanishad. And the Upanishad is a lesson from the Vedas. In our Quran, talks about the Vedas. That's one of the lessons we should study. And this is from the Upanishad. And what it says, it's called Within the Law of Learning. That's the title, Within the Law of Learning. Accept only that which appears to your heart as true, and let the rest pass you by. For the time being, for each comes his own, and none can gain his own until he is prepared for it. All right? Now, if you take that and go to the breath of heaven, where it says the ground must be prepared before corn be planted. The potter must build his furnace before he can make the porcelain. Any information that we receive, we have to be prepared for it. That's one of the things I learned. One of the things, it was a lesson that I learned a long time ago, years, and I didn't understand it. And my teacher said, you figure it out. He was like, you'll see. And it took me about 4 years to find out what he was saying. So you have to be prepared for certain information, especially for certain ones. You have to be prepared for it. And the things that I don't understand, I let it just pass me by. I'm ignorant to a whole lot of things, but I just let it pass me by. What I know. The 1% is you, within you. Everything that I learned is outside. See? So everything that's outside of me, I'm learning from everything else. But that only is because of we live in a world of information. All right. So when it comes for meditation, the power of meditation, then that 1% is there when we acknowledge it in because that's something that nobody can tell me. That's when someone say that you got from the outside. This is something that came from inside that you know, on a spiritual aspect to it. Yeah.
Islam. Yes, sir. And that's key, because that goes into the aspect of studying ourselves, our higher self and our lower self. You know, of course, that's chapter 2 in reference to that chapter 3 of our Moorish Holy Quran. And like you said, that is 3 years, you know, 3 years course. 3-year course. So that in and of itself says a lot. Just, you know, it tells us to know thyself and Father God Allah within our scripture. And praise Allah. And I want to, in your book, you know, definitely goes into all of that. You mentioned earlier about the numerology. I wanted to read a section of your book, and I wanted to, you know, just get you to expound somewhat on it, because we're dealing with the aspect of the numerology, and you break down numerology all through this book. Let me just say that for the people who are tuning in to this, very, very, very deep. But on page 15, you say the personality number of Noble Drew Ali is 7. The sign of 7 shows us that this person is deeply absorbed in the pursuit of spiritual and cosmic knowledge. 7s are intelligent, perceptive, and introspective. They have the air of a mystic about them and can be quite aloof. Also, 7s love their privacy. However, the 7 personalities, wisdom and knowledge will draw people to them, and in the end, they will realize sharing their knowledge is as rewarding as gaining it. And then you say, and now 3 is his maturity number. This reveals the person you will come to be, your true self. Now, I want you to expound on that, because, of course, we know that within our Moorish Holy Quran, it goes into 7. Of course, we see the 7 on the cover, circle 7, as well as we see the number 3, the triune Allah, the 3-step ladder, etc., etc. We just talked about chapter 3, which is a very powerful chapter. If you could expound on that, because we many of my shows we talk about the 7 and the 3. If you can expound on that in terms of numerology and why the Prophet made it so important to express that in the writings, in the literature.
All right, very well. One of the lessons is the most repeated is the most needed. So sometimes when things are repeated in a way that you have to be conscious, aware of, you have to take heed to that. You have to take notice. All right. So let me go back how the brain works, which is important. Now, to expound on that, let me go to, like we have a computer, right? So I don't see numbers. I don't see letters. So I had to train my mind to see symbols. All right? So once you do that, then you understand things going to be revealed to you. Certain numbers have certain frequencies, right? Everything that we think that it is, it isn't. So we were trained that, when we grow up, you're like, say ABC. Man, we just did it. They didn't break down what it is. the symbol, and this is what it stands for, this is significant. That's why they call it the mystery system, because it was mystery to them, but it was our culture of knowing ourselves. All right, so you have a computer, right? You sit down to the computer. The computer is neutral. It doesn't do anything because you got to put something in it to be activated, right? All right, so on the keyboard, what do you see on the keyboard? What are they called? Are they called numbers or are they called letters? What do they call them in the computer world? They're called characters.
Right.
You read character. There's a character, not a number. They understand it. They're playing with our mind. So your mind is a computer.
Exactly.
Right? So your brain is a computer. Therefore, everything that it sees, hear, feel, touch, smell, sends the rest of the brain. And then the brain will respond to so forth and so on. Now, what's interesting, when I started to study the symbols, the symbolism of it, and then you study every letter, what they call letter, has a number. Like A is number 1. 2 is B. You see? E is 5. All right, so with that, there's information that's out there for us to understand that, because there's the way we study. Our culture of our people in the higher science we study, and we're going to things that deal with infinity. You see? And then of course everybody just took it to a whole different level, and then it's just broken up into different divisions. And some people got this, some people got that, people this and this and that. Now, if you look in the Quran, I'm going to speak about a little bit earlier on my new book coming out, but I'm going to briefly expound on the keys that we're taking out of India, Palestine, and Egypt. So, going back to the brain, it's only, if you don't know how it works, the brain can be easily hijacked if you don't know how it works. The way I was taught in our school, I'll read Quran from, everybody's familiar with the backside, but I'll read it from that end. So the backside cover.
Right.
It's introductory. That's an introductory. So once you read that and you go to the inside cover, talk about you are the fallen sons and daughters. And then you go into the indent. And then he gives me a brief history of the end of time and fulfilling of the prophet. And then he brings in some historical events about the capital, Egypt, the capital empire, the dominion of Africa. Then Numerology brings us to Christianity, where we were, pretty much our mindset was at. And then he goes to the key of civilization, the origin of the Asiatic nation. And then he brings into this chapter, misery. You're coming out of misery right now. But the first thing that you understand in that chapter says the first duty of man. The first duty of man is the sense of his state. That means that what type of condition that my mind in? How did I begin to think this way? How did I arrive to think this particular way? And you have to do some research on that. So on my travel and studying, and I have a vast library. Man, I tell you, I was getting a book like every other week. I mean, I got like two rooms of this much books. And you know what brought me to the realization was, history is so deep and so wide, you're never going to come out of it. Because you're always going to find something. So I dropped all that. So what I did was, I said, all right, I'm going to key on this. And what I did was like, all right, what do I say? Know thyself. And once I figured it out, and I'm saying it's like maybe 25 years, once I figured it out, it's like, wow, there's a whole new revelation. Now going back to numerology, there are signs and symbols everywhere. Numerology has signs and symbols to all his literature. That's why he said, read my literature carefully. I'm pretty much dissecting it. And it's going to take some time to do it, but give you an example. if you have the Holy Quran by Maulana Muhammad, the seventh edition, that's another sign. And if you go into the chapter of Revelation, it's called the Truth of Revelations. That's what it's called, the Truth of Revelations. And there's a footnote from section 6. There's a footnote. And that footnote is 1886. All right, I'm gonna just read the last, and this is in my book, though. I'm gonna read the last. What it says. It says, even if they did not believe in the previous revelations, the broad point of likeness in the principles of two different prophets appearing at such a distance of time from each other among a probably different nation and under totally different circumstances, and the fulfillment of the prophecy uttered by one in the other. Let me just stop right there. What the key was the fulfilling of the prophecy. So when you open the Quran, the way I was saying it, he's giving you the fulfilling of the prophecy.
Right.
You know, we have to, you know, really kind of like really get into studying in ourselves so we get to that higher consciousness so we can help the next generation. The prophecy that came for the young and the unborn, old can go if they want to. And as a child, I can understand that. I can really concur with that. But it's only going to take a few that really understood and do the research within the context of the Quran, and so they can reveal certain things. Yeah, this is some work, but you have to be spiritually prepared for it. Now, I understand whether you're past yet. You got to be spiritually prepared for that. You know, mentally. You know, spiritually and mentally, you have to be prepared for that. It ain't going to happen if you just, hey, I'm just go ahead and do this. I'm going to do the research. It doesn't happen like that. You have to be prepared for that. Like the Prophet was divine prepared for certain things. In life itself, we are prepared to do certain things. When I came in the temple, the Grand Sheikh said, you have to find your purpose. I didn't know that until like 15 years later. You have to find your purpose. What works for you? What's good for you? That can help somebody. So like me being a youth in the temple, I'm like, all right, I was already knew that whatever I'm going to do is going to be for the future. Not now. Not for me. It's for the future.
Islam. Indeed. That's the key right there. And that, like you said, the prophet said he came for, you know, the young and yet unborn. So
yeah, that hit me because Brother H was young.
Right.
He was young there.
Yes.
And every time Brother H tell that story about the prophet said something to him, he never told us what it was. But you could feel the emotion. Because he was at the funeral. You could feel his emotion, the compassion, what went on at that time.
Right.
As a young person. That's devastating as a young person. You go through that, you traumatized as a young person. You see, and you know, a lot of things that went on after that, you know, the 50s, the 60s, and so forth, but they just trickled on down.
Yeah.
And it pretty much would have affected different temples across the nation, which affected the North Temple as well. So, you know, as a young person, it's like, wow, you know, it kind of really disheartening.
Indeed. And you know that for him to say that, make that statement, but yet not say exactly what he told him, lets you know that it was something that it had to connect with him, his spirit and his soul, as far as the journey that brother had to go through, you know, because he said he whispered it in his ear. So from mouth to ear, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. It wasn't for everybody else, but he knows that was a particular message that he was supposed to carry with him on this plane of manifest. and it was meant to be. Law governs all events. Praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
I wanted to ask you, because you also, because we know that numerology is one of those sciences that connects with a person's nature. Also, you get into astrology as well. We know if the Prophet was born in, because you mentioned 1886, he was born in January 8th, 1886. And we know that's a sign of Capricorn. If you would expound on, based on your knowledge about the Capricorn and how that relates to Prophet Noble Drew Ali and his personality with the 7 and the 3, as far as his mission. Why, based on your study, because everybody's born in a certain time for a certain reason. So how does that relate?
All right. Now, I don't get into specifics with astrology. For some reason, I use a different method. And that method was numerology. And here's the reason why. See, when you're born, and I'm going to use the questionnaire with this one.
Yes.
When you were born, you came on Earth by yourself.
Yes.
All right. So you came on a certain frequency. So that means that for you to, in order for you to look at a certain station, you have to turn it to that particular station, or you wouldn't turn it on. I mean, you wouldn't connect with it, in other words.
Indeed.
All right. For some reason, which I already know, I know what time I was born. I knew what time I was born. I know the date and month, but I actually know what time I was born, which is significant. I don't know what the time, what drawing was there. So that's a little bit different. If I knew that, then
right.
It's a whole different thing with astrology. So my approach was, all right, let me see something else. There's something else here. And this is the book, that's what I'm revealing, these particular signs.
Yes.
But what's fascinating is like, all right, we go back to the question. And he asked the last 3 questions. 7 days in a cycle.
Yes.
Circle is cycle. You live, in chapter 2, you live by cycle ages. All right? 5 and 2 is 7. When you raise in our prayer, we got 5 and 2. 5 and 2 is 7. When you multiply that by 7, you get 365 or 364. So with that, you count 52 days to your cycle. You live by cycle age, you live by 52 days is complete one cycle. All right, so you count the days that start on your birthday. You only have one birthday. After that is your Earth Day. But you count from your birthday. You count all the way to 52, that's one cycle. The next one is your second cycle. The next 52, your third cycle. Next 52, and so forth and so on. Now, there are 3 categories within those cycles. You have your life cycle, you have your personal, your life cycle, your business cycle, and your health cycle. Certain things you need to do on those particular cycles. All right? So, I don't participate, for me, dealing with Ramadan, because that's not my cycle. So what I do is I'll fast and do the preparation that is needed for my form, which is in tune to the frequency, the time that I was born. And do that for 52 days. And then I come out that cycle into another 52 days. Right? So when we look at certain things within the Quran, whether it's a questionnaire or anything in the literature the Prophet has, there's information that help us to elevate ourselves, not only mentally, but also spiritually. Because what is healthy to the body is honesty to the soul. We even have to eat more healthy. Because your body is not designed to eat certain foods. And if you don't eat that certain food, that'll help you to channel the energy that you have. You see, because what it does is it just complicates things in the long run. It just complicates things. So what I've got from the numerology, it's like, all right, from the numbers, you probably could match up what a Capricorn does. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So I was like, I really didn't get into it because I was like, these symbols will go into it. But instead of me going to the who is in the moon sign or the whatever planet was there. So that is pretty much what I've done within the content.
Islam, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we visited your temple, you spoke on the 52-day cycle.
Right.
You went into it in depth. Now, based on your knowledge of numerology, what is the importance of the 5 and the 2? Because we know 5, of course, we know 5 and 2 equals 7, but also 3 and 4 equals 7, or 1 and 6. So
right.
It's, of course, everything. There's a reason that when we raise our hands, you know, we put 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left. What is the significance of those numbers in numerology?
Well, the 5 and the 2 has nothing to do with numbers.
Okay.
When you raise your hand, it has nothing to do with numbers. It has to do with the 5 elements.
Gotcha.
All right. So each finger is representing the element. So your thumb is representing fire. Next to your thumb is your pointing finger, whatever it is, that's air. Next to that is your ether, then your earth, and then your water. So you raising your 5 elements. There's a movement in Tai Chi where I do the 5 elements. It's called a single whip. And the single whip is like I have my fingers down and my wrist up. All my fingers are touching, and my wrist is up. And then my left hand is out, and I'm in the position to do the 5 elements, because we are the 5 elements. It speaks about that in chapter 1. So when you raise, but you have to be consciously. You have to be attentive to what you're doing. To be active, to activate that, your intentions have to be audible. So if you're doing a prayer, the Moorish prayer, your intent has to connect to have or to receive that energy. In the 2, of course, you just added on the air and the ether. The ether is all elements combined. See? Because I'm going to simplify it. In chapter 1, we are 3-dimensional beings.
Yes.
3-dimensional, right? I'm just simplified because it's more than that.
Right.
So everywhere you go, you're already there. Did you catch what I just said?
I caught it.
All right. Are you aware of that? That's what I'm talking about, being conscious.
Right.
So the intent, when you pray, the intent in that prayer, no majority, in a way, in a sense, we're doing and demonstrating things, but you have to study to find out why you're doing it. What's the reason behind that? Like in yoga, you are bringing out the toxin. We carry toxin within us. I'm talking about emotional toxin and stuff. So emotions are neutral. So if someone gets angry, if someone is happy, you are the director. You're the one that directs that. You decide to be happy. You decide to be angry. You decide to be mad. Emotions is just neutral, but you do that. So if someone, for example, 2 individuals having a conversation, and it leads to an argument. They're arguing about which one is right, instead of having a conversation to find out what is right or what is true. But one that gets mad or angry, what is happening, they are diminishing their power. and people don't know it. You are diminishing your power. And so we have to be really mindful. It's like when the prophet said, out from your Sunday school comes the guidance of the nation. And we have to really learn some lessons, because when you go out into the world, you have to deal with all kinds of things, all kinds of people, all kinds of, the system. I always call it the system. You're in the system, but you have to know to understand the system that you're in. It's a mind game. But we caught up within the system. And then we get angry because of certain things in our environment. That's a part of the system. So what it does, every negative emotion that we have is detrimental to your health. Detrimental to your health.
Indeed.
And then we have ulcers. We go through all that. So I praise Allah for the Prophet bring us all what we need. And this is what I need.
Islam.
I need to be uplifted.
Islam. Indeed. Yeah, definitely. Praise Allah for the Prophet. I wanted to ask you something about symbols. But before I do that, I know you have a new book that you're working on. If you want to, speak on that, very interesting title. I know in the title you use a term called Science.
Yes.
If you could just speak on the book and
all right.
expound on that term.
Yes. All right. So a lot of Moors will have a Quran. And to understand certain things in the Quran, what do they normally would do? If they don't understand a word, they'll get a dictionary. All right, but you only get a watered down version of the dictionary. And then you're trying to apply that to understand in the Quran. So you're really not going to elevate. I mean, it'll help out to a certain extent, but it's not going to elevate you, because the Quran is not written in a way that you go in the dictionary and find out certain things. So what I've done is this is the last book. I use Numerology. I use Esoteric. I use Metaphysics. I use the signs and symbols of letters and numbers. All right. I use symbology. That's another thing. Symbology. Everything, most of the things we see, we don't see as a symbol. Symbols every day. We meet symbols every day. Every day. I give you an example. If you go up to the gas station at the Shell, you see a sign up there. Within that sign, what do you see in that sign?
Symbol.
Right, but when it says you're at Shell gas station, right? And you look up and you see a sign that looks like a what?
Like a shell, seashell.
All right, correct. Seashell, all right. It's not a seashell, it's a rising sun.
Right.
See what I mean? So it's bypass. Or Exxon, you go to Exxon gas station, you see the Exxon. That's not an X, that's a double cross.
Double cross, right.
So there are signs and symbols out there. So what I've done, and I'm making a dictionary. I don't like to use the word dictionary. So I came up with the concept of Science word book, which Eso means within science, word book. And I'll go into the name. I go into etymology, the origin of the name. Now, what's so interesting with the origin of the name, it's fascinating how when you look for a word, you'll always be Old English, Latin, so forth and so on. But we are the root of all languages. But we use certain languages for certain things. Right? So, that being said, I give you the date of the origin of the language. Not the language, but the when you look at the word, if I have it, I give you the meaning of it, and then I go into extent. I give you an example. If you go to chapter 1, someone said, well, I don't know what heart means. Heart. So you go into my book, like, oh, heart, that's a verb. It came into the late 12th century. It means to listen. You know, something like that. And also get into the phrases. The phrases in the Quran. All right, I'll give you an example. Let's go with chapter 1 again. Give me, which are the spirits of the fire, earth, water, air? Just give me any one of them.
Fire.
Fire, all right. Before I even ask them, what's your take on it? What's your observation?
Observation of fire?
Yeah.
Of course, fire is very intense. It is something that I would say it consumes a lot of energy, meaning you need oxygen for a fire to burn. So it's always pulling.
First of all. Now, one of the things, the other reason why I writing is that everything that I'm putting down is pertained to individuals.
Yes.
So when I open up the Quran, it says, know thyself. So all what I'm doing is making the picture, but anything that applies to you, that applies to self, that's what I'm doing. So we says, here now, you spirits of the fire. All right, so what is the spirit of the fire? What are the qualities of the spirit of the fire? Fire represents positive qualities. It means transformation. It means zeal. It means creation and destruction. It means decisive. It means power, creativity. All right, it's the active life force. All right, but I didn't stop there. What type of energy does it have? It's a masculine energy. It's projective. It has a power. What is the power of fire? It's the power to will. You know, somebody say, man, you got the fire in you. That means you got the will in you.
Right.
All right. So I don't use north, south, east, and west. I don't look at it as a direction. I always study down from the in to the out. I used to study from the out to the in. When you reverse that, you're going to see a whole different world. And so what I've done is like, all right, south is inwardly. So when south is inwardly, it deals with the physical energy. Because what the spirit of the fire is south. That's what I'm saying. The spirit of fire represents the south. And the vows, all your vows is anybody's name. Key to you, Shem, is the E. I'm an E. That's the key. And each vow has the element. And so the element of E is air. So the element of fire, the vowel for fire is I. So the fire is I. The planet that deals with fire is Mars. And Mars represents form, some type of form of energy. So when you read in chapter 1, it goes down here this, and goes on down. It's describing the things that the qualities of the fire has. So you got to see if that me. Can I use that? Would that benefit me for that? You see, what I've learned and how I learn is to be a student. I'm not always going to be a teacher. I was always a student before you teach it, but I know my role. I know when to be a student, know when to be a teacher. And see, that helped me to understand certain things. And so when I begin to when I begin to listen, and that's how you learn. You begin to listen. Not here. You listening means that I'm in tune. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm in tune to the frequency that you're presenting me. So in Prophet Noble, you already spoke a different language in the Quran. You can't You can't evolve in the Quran if your mind is still in the Christian aspect. In a sense, you can't evolve. You can get a little bit understanding, but you can't evolve. He says that right there. You got to return Christianity back to them. So you can't evolve with that mindset. But you have to know what it is. What do you mean by Christianity? All right, so it's a Western thought process. We are trained to think a certain way and respond a certain way. And that's how you are being controlled and manipulated. So if you just work inwardly, you'll find that out. And the prophet had to work. His work is inward to the outer. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, all these things be added unto you. The kingdom of heaven is the state of mind. You have to seek it in order to understand. And once you understand it, you're aware of the system that you're in. And then it will be dissolved in front of you. You have to worry about that no more. You just go to the next stage. All right? So the book, I just finished the first. I had to write this in volume. And it's a lot of work because I'm finding a lot of information. Like people buy metaphysical dictionaries for the Bible and all this other stuff. That's right. Well, we need something like Quran. I need to have something for the children for the future to have something for them. You know, so I don't look at everything as it appeared to be. So I study more, and I go into depth into the signs and symbols and get information out that can help the individual, because it sure helped me.
Islam,
praise Allah.
Praise Allah. Which makes total sense because you have to have, we always talk about the keys. Prophet gave us keys, and what you're doing, with you writing that as well as what you've already put out is being able to give a study guide for the Moors,
right,
which is really needed. It's really needed, and it's not that necessarily that one particular author has the guide or the particular one way of looking at, but like you said, it is a perspective that you have. It's the measure of understanding that Allah gave to you,
right, that
allows you to look from it from an angle that has maybe before not been explored. So praise Allah for that. Definitely. I want to read a passage from your book, because we talked a lot about symbols, and you go into, of course, you go in through symbols. I want to read this passage. This is going to be page 33, and then I'm going to go page 33, 34. It says here that it is said a picture is worth 1,000 words, and if we look at what the prophet wore in some of his photos, he gives us some eye-opening information about himself and his history. For example, there are 2 photos of the prophet sitting on a chair. This chair is representing sitting on a throne, a living symbol of his position and his authority. Wearing a white turban with an eagle's feather, which means a divine spirit with a clear vision. He is also wearing a daisy. The history of the daisy can be traced back to the sacred symbol of Mu and Atlantis. It represents the sun and her rays. It is also known as the sunflower. The radiation of the sunflower carries will help you to develop a higher consciousness. You may notice that he is wearing a sash across his right shoulder. Keep this in mind, that the shaman medicine man always carry a medicine bag. This the first photo of Noble Drew Ali as the Egyptian Adept, he was wearing a white robe with a sash around his waist. If you can expound on, you know, the importance of those symbols, the sash, as well as, because when you mentioned about the sunflower, that was eye opening, because I've never before heard any of the anyone expound on that. So if you can expound on those symbols briefly.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I went through a whole lot of research into looking at the symbol with the Prophet. I have a big picture in my home of it with of the Prophet sitting in the chair, and it's different. What happened was a lot of Moors, I don't know what the technology they have, changed the Prophet's facial structure. But what I have a pretty much, I would say original. What I have one is totally different, because you know that he had burn. He had a burn scar.
Yes.
Right. So I have one like that. And I'm like, man, they're gonna change the Prophet image. You know, I'm also an artist. When I tried to draw a picture, I couldn't never draw it, because the brand just said, man, his face keeps changing. That's why you ain't going to draw it. So I did the best I can. But anyway, so another was in the military. But each military person wear a uniform to distinguish from the position that they're in. For example, if someone in the military comes up, he has a certain stripe, I know he has a certain level. Another one comes up, I know he has a different level. It's the same thing with the Prophet. So when the Prophet was on the scene, when he first introduced himself, who was known as who? What do you announce himself as?
Prophet Drew, the Egyptian Adept.
The Egyptian Adept. That's why he has the robe. He's coming. What he's saying. See, I don't look at names. I look at titles. All right. So if I'm looking at the Quran, it says Hagar. Hagar is not a name. Hagar is a title. All right. So if you look at Professor Drew, well, Professor, one who teaches a certain branch of knowledge. That's what he's doing. In other words, he says the professor. From that name, I know he's going to teach a certain branch of knowledge. Then he says Drew. Drew is to move with force. In other words, to move with force. So you have the next one, Professor Drew Ali, the Egyptian Adept. And he's like, all right, what is he going to teach? So, but going back to Drew, is to move with force is also saying that he's there because the force is the will of Allah. He's letting you know that. Egyptian, he's saying Egyptian Adept because he's bringing you a Kemetic spiritual system. You know, Israel was bringing a system. So when I teach the joint of temple, it says the more to the size of the world, the Prophet was a universal prophet. You have people from India. You have people from different countries to come to see the Prophet. The Prophet even went to Mexico. He was going to work his way to Canada. And so he's letting you know what he's wearing and what his title is, what he's going to bring. He's going to bring a system to you. Now, he was an Adept, the Egyptian Adept, which means that is to master oneself. So when you open the Quran, it says, know thyself. Master yourself. Master yourself. That's what he's saying. Master yourself. Because he knows if you don't master yourself, the next generation, they're going to master them. They're going to master them. And I've seen it. Brother man, I sit back and I observe. I'm like, wow, some changes going on. I mean, it's a blessing to go to a transformation of changes when it went from color. So the time I was growing up, they were saying color. Black came to the picture. So I've seen how Indian African American came to the picture. I've been around since those 3 generations. It's amazing. It's amazing how that particular changes that comes about our people. And so what he's wearing is demonstrating, he's letting the European know. That's what he's coming to. people don't know what he got on. Look at that. You know, look at that fool got on. Look at him. What do you dress like? That's what we do. If you don't dress like everybody else, what's the thing you got on your head? You know, other nations know what you have.
That's right.
They know what you have, but I have a lot of experiences with that. That's a whole different story. You know, coming up with meeting different people from different countries. I also had received a poetry award back in the 80s. And I went to Florida, and when I received my award, I had my whole Moorish attire on. And it was something, and I was just new in the temple too, brother. You talk about a spark. Man, uplifted me big time. I said, praise Allah for that. When the Prophet was at the convention, he had mentioned something about his garment. That's when the Moors was introduced where he was, because they didn't know what he was wearing. You see? And so, later on, you know, you have the one sitting and standing. Pretty much he had the turban on. The only thing I don't know, I'm trying to do research, is on the one where he had his hands up with a different type of fez.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only one I couldn't you know, grasp. Now, on the other hand, dealing with the continent of Moor. Let me go back to my uncle. My uncle was introduced to the organization by a brother from Cuba. Brother Bartholomew from Cuba. That's how our family got introduced. And my uncle had a book, The Lost Country of Moor. And that was way back in the 80s. And when I started to do my research and studying, I came across another book called The Children of Moor. And then, of course, we have the internet now. So then I got to looking at what we're finding. And I started looking at the symbols. And it was interesting, they also have a star. The star is another symbol of the continent of Moor. And that was the first continent that fell, and then Atlantis that fell. But those people that was in Moor, and those people that was in Atlantis, all they did was go from one land to the other. And so your island is out there, of the continent of Atlantis is your island. Those are Caribbean islands. They call it Caribbean islands. European changes everything. You change the name, you change the frequency, you change the energy. So it's like they're using science to corrupt the mind. Because if you don't have a sense of direction, you cannot reach to the higher plane of understanding. See, the only thing they can have to go to different parts is going to what you call a sign.
Right.
You know, they're going to that's the only thing they can have.
Right.
But there's much more to it than that.
Indeed.
What numerology is like, in order to find out, you have to speak it. This just ain't going to come to you. But as long as you're on the path of be humble about it, and the foundations of organizations was founded upon 5 fundamental principles. With those 5 fundamental principles, that's 5 years right there. That's 5 years. I mean, ongoing 5 years. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna, stop and, people come in the temple, out the temple. No, this is 5 years. This is a 5-year course. Learn to love kind of hate. Hey, that ain't gonna happen overnight. No, brother. You need to learn. You need to learn first before you love. You have to activate that. And so that's a 5 years for each one. I told a brother one time, I said, brother, man, I've been in the organization for like 32 years, and I said, look, I just figured out what freedom was. In the 29th year. I got all the other ones, but I'm like, man, I finally realized what that is.
Right. Right.
See, your mind is your salvation, and it can also be your prison.
Yes. Yeah. That's so true. That is so true. We create our own heaven and hell.
Yeah, you created that.
Yes.
This will be, what's interesting with this, and I put it in my book, the controversy, where you get the book from, so forth and so on. I said, but I gave it out. But when it comes to the last portions of the Quran, which is dealing with unto thee thy grant.
Right.
All right. So when I study, that's like where I study is where do they get the information from? And the Rosicrucians got our history. They got our history because I found out that the Rosicrucians studied under the Moors. I'm like, oh, all right, that's where you get that from. That's all right. So when I'm talking about your cycle, that's where it came from. It came from the Rosicrucians.
Right.
They took it, and it's like, hey, we got it, and put it out. Found out, I have books. I have some books like back into like 1800s or something like that. I got some old books, and I found some very interesting things in there. But some of the authors that these Europeans were putting out don't exist. They're pen names. Right. Like one book that came out in 1913. It gives you a description and gives you some history of divine prophets and gives you some things. The book is called Cosmic Consciousness by the name of a man named Ali Nomad. You know, such thing as Ali Nomad. It was a doctor who pinned his name to Ali Nomad. So I figured it out, what was been going on in the early 1800s to the early 1900s. People will go out, and there's always European because they don't have that culture. So they go out speaking, and they just blow their mind with whatever they learn. Blow their mind. They just, oh man, it's like, oh man, and they come back to America and they just, well, I can't reveal who I am. So I'm gonna use this name. So it gets a Muslim name. And then someone actually put on a turban and changed his own image for the book cover. And then put out something. So this is what I know is that, yeah, you may put this information out, but you only can go so far with the information. Which means that you can get the information and then put the information out. But yet you don't possess the elements within the nature of the information that you put out. And what I'm saying is that, like in martial arts, as a Sufi, even like grand shit. You at a high level to a part where everybody's a student of people. And I learned that lesson in the Quran. Jesus was accepted as a pupil. So when you open up that Quran, what you actually saying that you are accepted as a pupil. As long as you understand where your position is. But get this. Jesus was accepted as a pupil. But along the way, each hall of learning that he was sitting, he conversed with those teachers. And he expounds on some of the things. And then what is happening is that there's a transformation from the pupil to the teacher, from the teacher to the pupil. The teacher didn't get upset when Jesus corrected them or enlightened them, because the teacher knew that at that time his position was no longer the teacher. His position at that time was a student. That's a deep lesson. Very profound deep lesson.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's a lesson to really humble yourself. It's like, wow. That's how deep it is.
That's right. So that reminds me of a saying I heard an elder say, and I think this goes back to an old Sufi saying, but in all I know nothing at all. And it relates to the fact that you always you know, you're always at the, and it also goes back to on Moorish Holy Quran. It speaks about, you know, the wise man. Right.
No, it's not, except his own ignorance.
Exactly.
Exactly. A lot of them.
Exactly. And Islam. Praise Allah. That you know, that's so, it's so important. I mean, dealing with what the Prophet gave us in terms of actually giving us keys to study ourselves, which is that one thing that, like you said, us as three-dimensional beings being on this plane of manifest, that we seem to avoid as human beings. That's the one thing we go into everything else except going within. So you know, just that alone, what the Prophet gave us is so important. I before I forget this thought, because me and you have had this conversation a few times, and then you mentioned it a couple of times, and you also have it in your book. Actually, for those who get the book, I posted the link on the chat. It's the first link up on top. So get that book, Noble Soul. You know, on page 48 and 49, you speak about a time when you met a brother, because you mentioned about Mexico.
Yes.
Where you met a brother, where you was waiting for a train, or you was traveling on a train waiting for your ride. If you can give that story.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I was traveling from North New Jersey to Richmond, Virginia, and I was on the train, and I had a shirt. I had a red shirt on, says, "What is your nationality?" On the back of the nationality says, "My nationality is Moorish American." So I was actually a promoter. And I got off the train, and I was waiting for my ride. And, you know, me coming from New York, I came from the hard knocks, brother. I mean, I'm coming to New York. I'm watching my surroundings, and I'm standing here, and I'm standing waiting for my ride. I know this brother was just watching me. And I'm like, all right, what's going to be? And then he approached me, but he kept his distance. I mean, there's a circle I have. You know, within that circle, you're evading my space. So he kept his distance, and he looked at me and he said, "Islam." And I looked at him, what's up? Islam. He said, "You're Moor?" Yeah. He said, because it was, from my perception, it's like, all right, man, it's Puerto Rican or, whatever. And he just said, "Islam." Yeah, man. He said, yeah, I'm Moor. He said, "I'm from Mexico." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You got a nationality card?" And our language is from yours to mine. So I said, "From yours to mine." So what I'm saying, I got mine, but let me see yours. And if we both pull it out, it's the same thing. I said, "Praise the Lord." What I knew, but I didn't say the book, but I think the reason why, see, brother, and I need to talk to my uncle more about him. Brother Bartholomew, mission was to write the Quran in Spanish. And I think he married a sister from Puerto Rico. And I think he has a lot of influences through this, Mexican, Puerto Rico. I think he met quite a bit of the Prophet's teachings there somehow, some way. I don't know what occurred to him. I know he passed off the scene a long time ago. So I really had to talk to my uncle. My uncle's like 90-something years old right now. So
Praise
I need
Allah.
to talk to him about that, and pull that story out more in detail, and maybe another excerpt from another book or revise it. But yeah, that was one experience that the Prophet was letting people know that this movement is the everlasting movement, which means everlasting is stretching from one to the other. Like ETC is earth, territory, and country. This is spread. There's people. I give you another example. I didn't put this in the book. Our grand sheik used to put us on assignment, and my assignment was we was invited to this religious group. It wasn't Christian. It was, in a way, but it was more like were kind of like conscious in a way. They were vegan. So I said, yeah, I represent the prophet. So I went, and I got up and spoke. And after I got up and spoke, a few guests did the same thing. And then the sister, she was like the minister. She gets up. She's from another country. She gets up. She's from I think it's like South America. She's somewhere from South America. She said, I grew up with Prophet Numerology pictures in my grandfather's house. And I looked at her and said, whoa. I was amazed. I was truly amazed. I was like, whoa. So there are people from outside this country that absolutely know that we were here. And if you know and share the story, they'll tell you. They'll tell you. That was just one great experience that I had with the train. But, I praise Allah.
Praise Allah. And I just want to repeat that. Because I don't want anyone to skip over this and not let this sink in. You spoke at an event, and a sister from South America, born and raised in South America, got up and said that she grew up in a house where her father had a picture of Prophet Numerology. Is that correct?
That's correct. Absolutely correct.
In South America, y'all. Y'all need to let that sink in for one moment. I really gotta emphasize that, because yeah, I mean, a lot of times we say a prophet is a universal prophet, etc, and all of that, but when you really can demonstrate and see the evidence of it and experience the evidence of it, that truly the work that the prophet was doing, it is greater than we can even imagine. Because him going to the Pan American Conference in 1928, it really happened. There are some people who try to downplay that. It really happened. And what the prophet demonstrated in chapter 45 of Moorish Quran, that that's proof right there. Your experience, waiting for your ride, that other experience with the sister from South America, it's real. Asiatics and Muslims right there. So praise Allah for that. Definitely praise Allah. Brother, I mean, I know we went over a lot. I know you and there's so much more I know you can go into. And at the same time, I do respect your time. Is there anything that you want to touch on that we have not touched on in reference to your book?
There are certain things that we were not taught. It's like taboo. And I was speaking about, like the prophet, if we're going back to numerology, but the prophet was acting upon he brought certain symbols. So you're like, all right, 7. All of a sudden, 7 always come up. Chapter 9 deals with humanity. Number 9, in actuality, is a symbol of humanity in numerology. All right, so in my book, we deal with 7, and you're taught in the Western thought there are 5 senses. Your 5 senses is for your sight, sound, the basic 5 senses. The sensories, they're designed for the manifestation here on Earth. Those are the tools that you use for survival. But no one really taught you about your 6th and 7th sense. Your 6th sense and your the seventh sense. It's there. We say these things, we experience these things, but we just answer a lot. He's like, you know. So in my book, I was speaking about reincarnation. You know, like, oh man, reincarnation. Let me tell you what I studied reincarnation for 3 years. I just studied extensive study for 3 years. And a lot of my people would listen to different forms of radio. At the time, the internet, I was listening to a radio station called Coast to Coast AM. And they're talking about, we talking about some deep stuff. I mean, really, really deep stuff. Well, anyway, there was an author that came on here, and I was trying to go back in the archives to, when I finished my book, I was trying to get to the archives to find this information. But he brought out a different science of reincarnation. And I'm like, oh man, that's right on point. And see, now one of the books that I have from the 1800s speaks about the science of that, and it's in the story. I'm going to tell you that story in a minute. But to rule you by your five senses, everything you see, you want. Everything you hear, you think is true. Everything you taste, you want to eat. Everything you touch, you want to feel, and feel for it to a point where you want to grasp, you want to take it, or you want to consume it. Smell good. I want to eat it. It smells good. I don't care what it is. It could be a rat that's just juiced me up. It smells good. It's clean. So you rule by your five senses. So when you go into your sixth and then your seventh sense, you supersede that. Then you go into your spirituality. That's when you go into your consciousness. That's when you really get conscious. That's what chapter 2 is all about. The teachers were teaching the mothers, the educators. That's what they're dealing with Confucius. Confucius says, knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. And so, when you are being taught how to exercise your sense of your sixth sense and your seventh sense. So, to give an example how it works, someone says, Shem, I just was thinking about you, man, and you just pulled up. You never gave me any thought. Man, I just already called you, man, and you called me. You never gave me any thought. You know, the telepathic. Never give me any thought what it is or how to use it. And see what it does, it cripples us. Now we are dependent upon our five senses. Now, the story goes like this. There was a story about this sage. It was a master sage, and he had a lot of students. But only one student was worthy to receive the spiritual guidance. But he didn't give him while he was living. He didn't give him the more spiritual guidance. So what occurred was the master stage passed. And when he passed, see, when you carry a form, you're on a certain frequency. When you leave that form, it goes into a high frequency. So when you go into that high frequency, it's in the ether. It's in a realm within the ether. For example, if you're in a room full of people, you're in a room with a full of thought, but you don't see it. You feel it. We all experience at one time, we feel something that somebody's staring at you. You look at somebody staring at you. All right, so what is that? You know, you would say deja vu and all that, but it's not. And so when the master stage passed, that information that master stage has is still in the ether. And so the student, the prominent student, was in the vicinity. And what occurred was that information that the master sage had, he received it. He received that, what you call, jewel. That's reincarnation. That means he received the soul knowledge to the next generation. That's science. That's science. To European, what he's done is all. I don't like to use the term of religion in a way as prescribed to what is being presented. And I've mentioned that in my first book. What I'm saying is that when you begin to observe and grasp the science, Europeans can't touch you because you mastered that. But now we dependent on technology, the cell phone. Where the cell phone came from, the telepath. They do movies about it. They think it's a myth. That's real reality because we're three-dimensional beings. I'll give you an example. When you go to the West and you dream, what do you see with? You ever thought about that? Do you see your dream?
Right. You don't see with your eye. You don't see with a physical eye. Right.
And it's not a third eye. That's your first eye. There's no such thing as a third eye. It's your first eye. Exactly. That's your real eye. That's your vision. Now, I had experience. I now can hear in my dream on that plane. I don't have no ears. So what I'm learning is there's different dimensions. But you're not being taught that.
Right.
Well, they said you can never beat the European materialistic. You have to use science. Well, who's going to teach it to you? So when you go in your 6th or 7th sense, all right, like, there's exercises, to help you with that and enhance you, to enhance you into that. People call it, intuition, all this, but you got to study that, how to use to your advantage. So
Indeed.
when all major religions were teaching this, I found out, I got a lot of literature on it. What they did is they restructured the meaning of it, and then some of them stopped it because it didn't fit their doctrine. That's why they left it all out. And then we took it on and on, man. We believe everything. We're like, oh, come on, man. We got set up with the information that was bringing to us. There's a science that I learned from our grand sheik called pick the roses from the thorns. See that in the Quran, right?
Right.
What it is that you can gain a lot of information, but how do you really know that it's true or not? All right, and that's like to really get in tune with that, you have to build you have to build a certain energy level for this. And this is not an overnight thing too. Is that once you obtain that frequency, then you know what is true or not. Because their mind can easily be persuaded, just like a blink of an eye. Just like a blink of an eye. It can be persuaded just like that. Just like that. And the next thing is inconsistent. It can be this, and then you could be that. Just like a blink of an eye could change, just like that. But see, there's hidden things that I was taught to know that is true or not. So in other words, somebody wrote a letter, right? Somebody wrote a letter, and I can look at the letter and say, hey, and I see something totally different than what that person sees. That has the letter. Because the letter says, and the person who wrote the letter saying something that he did, and he did this, and this did that, and did that, and I can see the letter, and I can say, hey, look, you know what this letter actually said? I said, the writer didn't know that when he's revealing. And then I said, well, the letter states that he actually turned on himself.
Right.
There's a science to that. It's a whole different level.
Indeed. Islam. That definitely speaks to the aspect of what we know in the Moorish Holy Quran, where it says about the sin lies in the intent, the wish, the intent, not the act. And you also spoke about your explanation on reincarnation. That brings a whole new perspective when we go through our questionnaire, and it asks the question, what is a prophet? A prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in flesh. So the thought, as you mentioned, you gave that example about being in a room full of thought. You know how the master died, but he wanted to give information, and then later on, the student received the thought, and that was the manifestation.
Right, exactly.
Right. So it brings a whole new, just going back into chapter 1 about thought of Allah being a seed, and infinite thoughts of Allah are infinite. That means it's not circumscribed by time. It's not confined by time. So that means that when man himself is not the body nor the soul, he is a spirit and a part of Allah. So the true spirit man, there is no death for us. There is, we know that, and we also know that, so in reality, our thoughts, our essences manifest even when we're no longer in the physical per se, or the physical body we were born in at a particular time. We are still manifesting on the plane. Essence of us is still manifesting on the plane of manifest. Could be through our children, could be on certain other ways. People who, we talk about musicians, you do music. We know great musicians like Bob Marley and stuff.
Right.
When you hear his, I can tell you personally, I'm a huge Bob Marley fan. When I hear his music, it's like he's here, the essence, because you get that energy, that frequency of his thought, the way he, what he put into the music, and that's important. And that just ties into what everything you're saying. I'm just going on, the thoughts are coming to my head as you were explaining that about reincarnation, about thought. Even in our questionnaire, it talks about, Jesus, first reincarnated into Prophet Muhammad the Conqueror, et cetera, et cetera. So it's definitely in our lessons without question. And that's definitely a very important aspect. Like you said, a lot of Moors don't touch on, and you explained it perfectly. I was blessed, praise Allah, when we came to your temple, when we visited your temple that day. You did an exercise on that aspect, on telepathy. And it was very, very, very powerful. Definitely. So praise Allah for that. With that, I want to say, tell everybody again, if you have not ordered the book, please order that book. It is definitely worth it. We touched on, we scratched the surface. We wasn't going to read the whole book. It's a lot in here. But what my brother Eric has spoken on is by far some powerful jewels. Praise Allah. Again, Noble Soul, The Mystical Sciences of the Man, the Moor, and the Message. This is a book that really gets into a lot of the spiritual aspects, the divine aspects of a prophet, as well as it gets on history. Let's not take away from that, because you do get into some serious history in this book. When you talk about the prophet and as well as the Moors. So I don't want to neglect on that. Yeah. So when we just since we have a little time, you spoke on in reference because you mentioned earlier about Ivan Van Sertima. You did mention Ivan Van Sertima in this book. What is some of the key components as far as, for example, when you mention in page 63 in your book about chapter 47, and then you went into the aspect, and I'm just going to read page 64, this section real quick. With Noble Drew Ali's teachings of the genealogy of Cush and his father Ham, you will see the many family branches of our people that became the divine origin of the Asiatic nations. Now, before the coming of Columbus in America, the inhabitants in North America were already mixed. That is why there were so many tribes of nations of whom they were called Native Americans. It was said that the numerous evidence suggests that Muslims, Moors from Spain and West Africa arrived in Americas at least 5 centuries before Columbus. Now, and we just mentioned about what you mentioned about the sister in South America, right, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I want to ask about, in connection with that, also about because you said you went and found out more about the origins of Elam Bay. So, what were some connections that, some of your findings on that?
On the Elam Bay?
Yeah, well, first let me ask you this: because was there in your injury? Because I know there's a spiritual aspect on it, but as far as the history of it, were you able to find anything in connection with the Moors, as it was in their involvement being in Americas, like the I want to say like tribes? Because one of the things we've always was taught, or I've been taught, one of the demonstrations about the Elam Bay is that they're more than just titles. It also connects to tribes. So in terms of that, did you find anything of that nature? And if so, or if not, what did you find in relationship to Elam Bay?
Yeah, that's going to take in a way in regards to the tribe name, because they renamed most of the tribe. All right, so the further you can go back is the Natty Coast from the Delaware Moors, where when the Negro Act and all the stuff they're trying to say, it's like, hey man, we not Negroes and we not Indians. That's as far as you can go back. And then you had the Moors of Sundry. As a matter of fact, that's Sumter, South Carolina, is where Brother John Gibbons was born. He was born in that Moorish community in Sumter. That's where the Moors were at. Right. So, that's when we find a connection. When you look on the records and saying, they already knew. You're trying to say that we're Indians. We're not. They're so messed up. Even the Indians are not Indians. It was a story. One of the sisters says there was a brother that works on the dock from India. His wife called, and he said something about the Indians. And she said, what Indians? Like, we're Indians. She was amazed. She's still an Indian. I don't think she's been in America. And they call themselves Indians. We're not Indians. So, it's a lot of, it's a puzzle. I can refer to certain books in regards to, the Natty Code. Of course, they talk about that in connection with that. But I'm going to give you another angle, how you connect it. The angle is if people were here, then they have to leave something. for evidence to know that you're here. So if you're doing an investigation of a crime, the first thing you do is look at the scene. And the scene will let you know that this particular individual is here. Well, guess what? That's what they found here in America. They found old pipes, like pipes that's smoking pipes. It's like, wait a minute, hold up. These are the same type of pipes they have in Morocco. And then they found other things. They found coins. All right, now this book is called Africa and the Discovery of America by Leo Weiner. He gives you the information. That's when Ivan Van Sertima finally woke up. That's how he woke up. He woke up to these Europeans giving this information out. Then he started writing the book, Ancient and Golden Age of the Moors and stuff like that. Unexpected Faces in Ancient America. You got artifacts. You got artifacts of a stone. So like a stone, you can see it's like an old man. You can tell he got a fez on. It's on a full page. I heard his book is a lot of money now. My brother was looking for his book. He said, man, that book about $1,000. I said, man, I had this book for a long time. But it's called Unexpected Faces by Alexander Van Wooten. Not only that, if you look at tradition dances that they're doing here, you'll find out that they're doing the same thing in Africa. Oh, wait a minute. A European woman did an investigation. She went to Africa, and that's how she studied. She studied, like, all right, she came back to America and said, wait a minute, they're doing the same thing. How is that possible? Yo, we far away, but still doing the same type of thing. It may have a different name. It may have a different language, but pretty much you're doing pretty much the same thing. That's how you connect. If you can't connect the name, but somehow, somewhere, there is names to it. I can't, this is a long name, but at the end of the name is Bey on it. A brother gave me the information because he usually tell you who was in that area at the time that they came here, and they said this tribe was, that tribe was, and they renamed the tribe. When they left evidence, they leave evidence in the name of the tribe inside that name. It's a long name, but they left evidence in it. And that's why I see Bey on it. So they're evidence beyond our imagination. And the things that they did, because I do have the story of the artifacts of ancient Egypt and India in the Grand Canyon. Well, wait a minute, how did that get there? And recently, in the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, a guy we did a research to find out that it was true. And I knew this back in the 80s. So, there are evidence out here, but they ain't not telling people. Here's an old a story that the elders used to say. Not used to say, but the elders said. It was in Philadelphia. This is referring to Philadelphia. So his brother went to the museum. And he saw like an encased. Something was encased, and he went and seen with a turban and fez, and it says these were taken off the Moors in such and such year. He said when he seen that, he ran out to try to get the Moors to come and look for it, to look at it, and they took it out. They took it away. So they have the information. They're not going to share it with everybody. So they're trying to hide, but you really can't hide it. You have Europeans writing out this information for a long time. That we already been here, even the clothes that you wear, the proof that we're Moors that was here. That's in Ivan Van Sertima book. He wrote the description what we're wearing. They found out they was wearing that same thing in Morocco.
Right.
That's wait true. A minute. How is that? That's evidence.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's evidence.
That's right.
And the other thing, ancient and modern Britain, the book, 2-volume book. It's a lot big. that 2-volume book. In that book, this is in my book here, he's going to tell you the Indians and the Moors were interchangeable in Great Britain. So if they say Indian, we're saying Moor. It's the same thing he's saying. So he's talking about the Moors here with the Wiggum, and he was giving some information on what was going on here. So there's evidence that's written outside America talking about certain things that was going on in America by other authors outside America. Because America at one time shut out all information that was coming in. They didn't want you to learn anything about yourself. So when Numerology started in North, we're in North. He also, I don't know if I told you, he also lived in Richmond. Did I tell you that, brother?
No.
He also lived in Richmond. And he was raised by the Drew family in Norfolk. He was adopted into the Drew family in Norfolk, Virginia. And he was a shoreman. That would allow him to go out, in the shore, on the boats and stuff. He moved to Richmond and became a porter for railroad. He left Richmond and went to North. And then began to preach. He's like, he's down on the corner. And you can look it up. I mean, they'll look up the records.
Yeah.
But the key was, when he was in Richmond, he was known as Timothy. So you ain't going to find him under Timothy. You're going to find him under Eli. Eli Drew. And the street he lived on was called Moore Street.
Wow.
And he lived down the street from the first Grand Sheik with Richmond before they even started the temple. His name Moses. He lived down the street before the Prophet even started the temple. So he was making his way in this movement silently. That's what I'm saying. Yes. He was doing things silently.
Yes.
Because when they were watching Marcus Garvey, Noble Garvey was digging zagging.
Right.
That's the term we use.
Yes.
He was digging and zagging while Marcus Garvey. Everybody looking at Marcus Garvey, but they ain't looking at Noble Garvey.
Right.
Until all of a sudden, boom, Noble Garvey blew up. And like, oh man, whoa. And they started to come after him.
Right.
They started to like, oh man, we need to shut this down now. Come on. You see, Noble Garvey not smarter than them. What you think is, ain't. Like you said, he told you about that at the convention. I've done something that you really can't conceive. It'll take you 50 years to find out why I bought you.
Right.
And if you don't be careful, it'll take you 50 years to know that up in you. He already tricked them.
Brother,
there was a whole lot going on, man. I tell you.
Brother Eric, I'm so glad you said what you said. And the reason why I'm so glad you said what you said is because in the past, what year or so, there's been a discussion, an ongoing discussion amongst certain Moors about the name he used. Now, there's been a couple of writers, researchers who have pulled up records and where they connected the prophet to the name Thomas. And, of course, there's been Moors who swore up in that, well, no, that can't be it. And here I'm hearing from you, and you was basically raised in the temple, and you telling me this information on this, and also the Virginia aspect, the Virginia factor as well. And Moors, no, can't be, because it says in the questionnaire. But yet and still, and we're not in all, if we're not saying the prophet lied on anything, because the questionnaire is a questionnaire. But you explaining it in such a way where it paints a better picture. And you said in Virginia he was known as Eli. You'll find him under Eli Drew. So, that gives a whole new aspect on just the fact, like you said, it's evident that he moved in certain ways. And in my research, there was a couple of men who did that. They used certain names at certain times.
Right.
And it wasn't as uncommon, but we know why. We can understand why he did it. Like you said, they was watching the Forerunner. They was watching Marcus Garvey, and it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, because see, they got in another research, the Marcus Garvey's right hand man was in a form. His right hand man was in a form. They actually was going to get him. They was trying to get him for murder, Marcus Garvey, but they couldn't pin it on him. So what they did is, before the guy, his right hand man, passed, he was trying to say, well, the best time thing they can do, or if they can do, is get him on mail fraud. Get him out of here. So, and what's interesting, I don't look at everything by accident. I go with the law. That was one of the 7 harmonic laws. We talk about law governs only event. So, a certain event, you can't. Well, when I realized this, it's something that was said to me, and this is being a student perspective, right? So when something says something to me, I'm being neutral. My position is neutral. I'm not going to take my mind. I'm talking about my mind is neutral. That's why we get caught up. If your mind is already decided that I am right, you're not going to adhere to the message. You're not going to get the truth. As long as you put up that wall. That's what I'm talking about. Western thought. It does that. That's a Christian. That's why the prophet said we'll return Christianity back. Because when you set up and defend, you have to be neutral in order to receive something that can benefit you in the future. And so when somebody says something, this and that, you got to sit back and say, all right, let me research a little bit more. But the thing is what type of research that you're doing. I'm doing research in science. I'm doing a whole different, angle at it. So wait a minute, what? When I was flying this, I'm like, wait a minute. But I understood. Because look, man, you talk about the 20s, before the 20s. You talking about the 1910, 12, 13. And you don't know what type. This was a madhouse. It wasn't integration. You had to deal with Europeans. You had to deal with. This was a time of lynching, man. You had to be careful.
That's right.
You have to be really careful out here. And then, you have to zig and zag. Because if they find you starting to them it's a revolution. When I went to Marcus Garvey exhibit, man, I say, brother, that there was so much drilling of spirit in that exhibit. Man, my tears were starting to go. I was like, man, this magnitude, it put me right in the area. And what that brother had to go through. The 1934 speech sets it all off from everything. But he couldn't give you the essence of what nobody brought it to. The certain things that Marcus Garvey did, he had to do, but he knew he didn't supposed to do it. When he was told to do that. He didn't want to go to use the word Negro. He didn't want to use that. Someone said to use that because it brings the attention of the Negro. That's how messed up we were. That's how messed up we were. The flag, that's a banner, red, black, and green. That was it's in my book. But that was already in existence from one of the empires we had in Africa. But it was he brought in the banner. But he know they couldn't bring in a flag, but he brought you the essential stuff to go on to carry on. But no majority, in Richmond, in the Norfolk, in the South, that's why he said, remember the Moorish Science, I studied the South. Why? We're going to get left in the South.
Right.
I can see why. I'm from New Jersey. I'm here, and I came in Richmond in '90. And I'm like, man. And I studied the people just like the Prof did. I shake my head. I can see. And then there's a story. I'll talk to you later on about it. What happened to Brother H in Richmond in the 30s?
Mm.
Yeah, but he had to do a couple of things. He had to realize that and try to find our own truth, find the truth, because the truth gonna set you free. And with that, we don't know why, or we don't know how certain things that were done and what the Prophet was doing. He didn't want you to know why and how. Why? Because you're gonna tear it up.
That's right.
You're gonna tear it up because you're not in your proper station. You haven't mastered the 5-point fundamental principle. You want to destroy the next generation. That's why he's protecting his interest. That's why he never told a lot of things to those who around him. He only served certain people. That pretty much you can count on one hand. Just think about it.
Yeah.
You start an organization, and it grows so big that you have to appoint people in different positions. But when you appoint somebody, that means that you have to earn those titles.
Right.
You have to earn those titles. Not that I give it to you because you deserve it. I give it to you so you can earn it. And if you don't earn it, what the Prophet did?
Took it back.
Additional law. That's right.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Serious, and we already know.
A lot was going on there, man. I mean, yeah. Look, here's another lesson I learned. When I studied the Prophet to another angle, I studied the behavior of the members back at the time. I said back and look. So she wrote about it. Kevin Hector, taking over your Moors. He wrote about it. So I studied the act of what they were doing. Divine war. All right, what's going on? What's going on for him to do that? What? And then you're like, oh man. So he already, when he talked about in Kevin Hector, what he means by I know where every member is at. When he said that, if you're in the presence, like what the elders say, when you're in the presence, it seems like she's looking right through you. Like that's one of the lessons I was talking about intuition. He already know you. He already know.
Right.
So if he asked you something, that was a setup. So if he said something to you, it was a setup to see what you're going to say. Right. And then he already did. So how can I trust you? And you know, but it is what it is. But he had to get this movement started.
Right.
That's why I came for the young and the unborn.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That is so true. It just speaks volumes of, you know, what the Prophet went through to get this movement done for the future generations, who he had to deal with, you know, and he faced a lot of opposition. He faced opposition, and we're not just talking about Europeans. He faced oppositions, as we know, in the literature, in the historical Moorish leaders' historical message to America. He talked about the Christian preachers, talked about them, and we know from, you know, just studying history what he dealt within the ranks in the temple. You know, so he was facing oppositions from all sides. So to deal with that, the work, you know, it says a lot for a person to be just have the strength and the willingness to even deal with it, because the average man and woman wouldn't even bother. they wouldn't even bother, you know. Yeah, man. So
that's sacrifice right there.
Yes.
And see, when I was coming up, you know, it's like, you know, I've seen a lot of things and I've been around a lot. And, you know, as a young person in the temple, I'm like, you know, I could have did the same thing. I could have like, man, let me get out, man. But, you know, I'm cool with the fact that I'm not in the temple for for me, I'm in a temple for the future.
Right. Right.
That's what my thing is. So what I have to offer for the future generation. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
So, it's like, either that or I've been thinking, I'm like, I can't do that. I've been a paper member for over 30-something years.
Yeah.
And I'm getting rewarded by information in the studies that I do. That's why I reward the studies that I do. I'm like, hey, man, praise the Lord, I produced a book. I produced some information.
Yeah.
It's not like a whole history book. I just need some sciences to stimulate the mind.
Yes.
To advance. That's what Prophet said, for advancement, for progress, unlimited capacity. It's unlimited. But to advance.
Indeed. That's the key. That's the key. That knowledge, that wisdom, and that understanding that, takes you through that 12-step ladder, that we have to use the tools of the workshop of the mind. We are definitely
The 12 steps is deeper than what you read. That's a whole lot to get your 12 body systems is dealing with that. Each one of them represents your 12 body systems. Helps us all through that Quran.
Yes. The 12 body system. Okay. Since you mentioned it, could you just go a little bit into it? Just a little bit.
All right. So your respiratory system. So when we read and study, we have to learn the respiratory system. What is useful? How does it function? So if you have a brain, you don't know how it functions. You don't know how your body functions. So, all right. So when you go into the Korean 12-step ladder, there's a lot of different elements within that 12. And as a matter of fact, I did mention in my book what I was mentioning before. When the information came out of UNTV that grant, I found another book older than that. That's what I'm saying. It came out in the 1800s. But his word is different than it is in the Quran. But when you read it, if you have an opportunity to really read it, it would enhance, and I mean enhance, your way of thinking. And so, the 12 steps, like, all right, let's go with modesty. Because some of them you can find in the Quran, but some of them you have to go into the Quran. All right. Let's go with modesty. Teach them modesty.
Yes.
Teach them how to be humble. Teach them to be, humble in life. Because that's how you're going to reach your higher dimensions of life. But how? So if you're not humble, all right, so if you do the opposite, it's going to mess up some of your systems in your body, one of your 12 systems in your body. And that's something I'm working on right now. After my book, in the middle of it, I'm gonna write it down, obedience, modesty, and all that, and I'm gonna have it next to what system does it is like temperance.
Yes.
Temperance, self-restraint, remove negative energy. And so what organ that temperance, connect with?
Right.
So I don't have it right now, but I'm gonna have to look at each system to find what negative emotions that we give out, which cause toxin in your body, what your system is going to shut down.
Islam.
Your system is not designed for hate.
Right.
There's something that I was taught called the inner smile. And in the inner smile, when I'm meditating, I'm smiling while I'm meditating. Why? Because I'm smiling because it brings joy to my organs. My organs rejuvenate itself. own self. Your organs rejuvenate yourself because you are reminding that your organs, you're happy. You know, so that's the inner spouse. There's also the term called jewel. The organs of the jewel. So if you get cold, if you're in a cold, because I work in a cold environment, that's why I got a cold. If you're in a cold, what's the first thing to get cold?
Your hands.
What is it?
First thing is it not your hands?
Like your hands or what else?
Your feet?
Your feet. Now, this is how your body is designed. When you're in the cold, everybody, I'm in hand cold, feet cold. All that energy in your body pulls its resources to protect your organs.
Right.
That's why you don't. That's why your feet and hand cold. Because your body says, man, look, we got to shut this down. You know, forget your toes, forget your hands. We got to protect your organs. So that's why the hands and feet get cold. Everything else protects the organ. Those are your jewels. So when with the inside note with that, when they start to in our community, when they start having alcohol, right?
Right.
And they start having the things that's in the alcohol that's detrimental to the health as well as the body, but it's detrimental to your state of mind. So some of us indulge in it excessively. And so then it's going to bring out your negative traits. Everybody has a positive negative. Everybody. That's why the Prophet talks about the higher self and lower self. You know, one cannot resist without the other. And sin means wrongful thinking. So the sin lies in the wish, not in the act. So sin actually is wrongful thinking. Even though I didn't commit it, but I thought about it, I messed up already. Why? That's why I said your spirit goes before your form. That's the same thing with your thought. So, you know, we think unconsciously and say that we conscious. Wow, that's deep.
It is.
That's deep to think about. See, in meditation, one of the things I learned, when you meditate, all right, the question I'm at the point now, is like, all right, now I'm going to ask you a question. I was like, oh, when you meditate, who is the one that you meditate?
So who is the one that is meditating?
Yeah, if you're meditating, who is the one that you meditate?
That's a good question. It would have to be. I mean, I would take it as my higher self that is meditating. As far as okay,
why the higher self need to meditate?
Good point.
Higher self.
Good point.
Now I say that because I say things to make people think. And so when the Moors come out the temple, I say something, I leave it. I just leave it. I just leave them. I pretty much don't give an answer. That's the way I was taught, because the problem is I can get you to think for yourself.
Right.
But I've said this because when you meditate, you have to understand, you have to be observant to what's going on. Observe. This isn't, when I give out information, I'm not giving my opinion. I'm not giving you my perception. I'm giving you my experience and my observation.
Right.
So when I meditate, it's a totally different concept than when I used to. Because I never understood it. That's why it takes years. It takes years to get to the point, to this particular point. You arrive at something that's really, really deep. There's many forms of meditation.
Right.
So, I thought when I threw that out there, it's like, all right, who's the one that needs meditating? Or how would you identify yourself? In regards to the I.
Right. Right.
All right. I'm going to here. I'm going, but you are not I.
Yeah.
You're just you was I. I did this. I did that. I did this. And I did that. Well, who's I? Me. Who is me? So you have to ask the question. The reason why the Prophet has the one-on-one, he asks every question. He has a question and an answer. So no regard between the question and the answer. So what is he telling you? He's telling you that you need to be the question and the answer. You have to ask yourself the question in order to get the answer.
So that prompts me to ask this question, Brother Eric. Because you mentioned about the I, and I've read different things about this, and this is really a deep subject because it forces one to kind of strip the limiting factors of what they identify themselves as. You know, like you said, the different titles we take on,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. Even dealing with the flesh, even dealing with your birth, your birth name, all that.
Right.
The term of I am, because I hear people talk about I am that I am, like it says in the Bible, who should I say sent me? What level of realization or self-realization is that coming to, or is it even self-realization based on your experience?
All right, when you saying self-realization, in other words, I'm realizing that I am that I am.
Right. Yes.
That goes back to the question, who is I am?
Right. Right.
It's the thing that gets you to think. You see, we must understand, we live in a materialistic, we materialize on Earth. All right? So we use the terms in a physical aspect to only what? To navigate around our surroundings. This is why you have your five senses. So you're going to use terms like that. You're going to use terms like I, or me. That's the way you were taught. I mean, you're grown into that. You raised into saying that. Because what it is remember when I said your mind is a computer?
Yes.
It's going to pick up everything that's around it. It's going to be apparent. We will become apparent. Say I. Say me. And you become, but you unaware. Why do I need to say I? Why do I need to say me? And no one can define that. Really, nobody can define that. Now, let me go into the deep science regarding to what the statement you just said. Now, when the Prophet talks about the silent brotherhood, that's where it started off at. There's a period of a time you didn't need to say anything. You know. When you at that particular point in the silent brotherhood, you know, I don't need to say I am. I don't need to say that. I know. But not in the verbal aspect. It's a vibrational frequency that you feel on. And the only way to connect that is love. There's no other way around.
Indeed.
That's why it's the importance of love. That's the high pinnacle of everything. That's the source of book. And that is the source, like the root. The cause is called from which all things have grown. Love is the pinnacle. If you can't learn to love instead of hate, you can pull it up right now. You're gone. You're not going to evolve. You may get little understanding of certain little things and all that, but that pinnacle, man, that pinnacle love ain't no joke. Love ain't manifest. In chapter 1, he tells you the sister came here first. Then the brother. The feminine and the masculine is on the same frequency. Once it's in the vicinity. Because they have to work with each other. So some men in the physical have both. Everybody has the masculine and the feminine. And I'm just referring to as energy. Your yin and yang. Your number 1. And your other one is yin, one is yang. Same thing with the alphabet. A, B, one is yin, one is yang. Go down the line. Yin and yang, yin and yang. Yin, you breathe in, yang, you breathe out. Yin and yang. So when you understand, it takes a whole different system of way of thinking. They'll free you from the prison of your own mind. You got to lock in it. It's like the Matrix. You're locked in. You're mentally absorbed by a system. You subscribe to the system without you even knowing. Matter of fact, some people defend the system that they're in. Don't even know it. When someone comes to free you from that system that is totally different than the system, and what? He's radical. He's crazy. Something wrong with him. When the prophet said, you're not nickel black color, oh, maybe these are our people. You're crazy. What do you mean I'm not black? We know that Negro. I can't get him and South brothers, man. I talk about, wow. They were trying to attack me with saying that you're not Negro black color.
Yeah.
So when you know something, and I know something, we don't need to talk. We acknowledge it through the vibrational frequency. Because we're on that same.
Right.
We're on that same frequency. That's when the Quran talks about when the conditions change. People change the condition. We'll change your thinking. But also, it contributes to your behavior. When a man acts, that is the way they think. Sit back and observe. There's no judgment.
Right.
There's no judgment.
Yeah.
You just sit back and observe. You start learning. Now, the other frequency I'm talking about intuition. When you see a bird and you see birds flying, they fly in a certain way, don't they? Yes. You may be like 20 birds, but you see one bird ahead of all the birds, right?
Right, in formation. Yeah.
In formation. And then when they turn, they all turn. They all turn to the left, they all turn to the right. You know, the bird just say, hey, man, let's all turn. Why? Why they all turn? Because they all based on the same frequency. They're on the same vibrational frequency that when I turn, the other one knows that he's turning left instead of right. Now, let's look on Earth. We got the sea. We call them what? The school of fish. You see all those fishes together. They all turn. They turn to the right. They all turn to the left. Why? Because they're on the same frequency.
Right.
They're on the same vibrational frequency. They understand that. We are out of nature.
Exactly.
The Bible trying to get us back to nature. You're natural. It's so deep that we got to learn to love instead of hate because we out of nature.
Yeah.
We don't have acknowledge. We don't acknowledge, you know, the nature, the beauty that it is. Because the ancient Moorish saying, the trees are the lungs of the earth. It's an old Moorish saying, trees are the lungs of the earth. So the trees, you know, when my Tai Chi instructor, we go out to the park, we do Tai Chi. And so we'll look at the tree. They ask permission. We have to ask permission to get energy or transform, which means transform negative to positive. for energy. You have to ask permission. You just can't go take it. Our people, we're all selfish. We think we can do anything. But with nature, you have to operate on nature in the same frequency. So in order to obtain your life force, you have to connect with them. Jesus said at a flowing spring.
Right.
You just sit there and listen to the water. That's a form of meditation right there.
Right. Brother, this is powerful, man. Yo, you took it, you took it, yeah, you took it on high, brother. And I praise Allah, give all praise to Allah for this. Yeah, definitely. This is definitely a needed discussion. Because yeah, it just is. Because what you said, you said it all. You said it all. I can honestly say, again, brother Eric. This is brother Eric Mungin Bey, the author of Noble Soul. Get the book. Be on the lookout for his next book as well on the Esoteric Science. Definitely. We are going to conclude this discussion. And brother Eric, I want to thank you. I can't thank you enough for taking your time out to get on this program, on this platform, and just build, and sharing with the knowledge that you have gone. Islam.
We're putting the platform out. It's like this is my first. By now I'm really kind of with the words you found for it, that I don't see that I'm one of those silent brotherhood. I'm silent, but I'm not heard in a certain way. I'm certainly the only way you can hear from me is pretty much from my books. I don't go on no lectures. I don't do none of that.
Yes, sir.
I don't do anything like that. All I do is write, research, and the temple is open for everybody. I'm not discriminating. It's open for everybody. Or the Moors want to come out, they can come on out. And as well that when you come out to the temple, the Moors will find one of the requirements is to remove your what, brother man?
Your shoes. Yes, sir.
Remove your shoes.
Yes.
And, it's just a blessing, brother man, that you starting something like this and be on the path to give information out for the authors. And I met a few of them along the way. A lot of good brothers. To brother Hopkins and his family.
Yes.
In Philly. And I met a lot of good brothers around in the circle. Henry Bond, brother Sheikh Charles Brown Hill.
Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of authors. Brother Haru in Georgia.
Yes, brother Haru.
Right, yeah. We shared a table, and that's how I got to meet him.
Praise Allah.
We just spoke about you too. I said one day we all need to collaborate and then do one together on different topics.
Yes.
Have one good book, on different topics. And something in my mind is like this. It's called mini paths. Mini paths means, let's say you're going to a destination. There's a destination that you need to go and I need to go. Or 5 people. But we all come from different directions. But we're all going to get there. That's what I call mini paths. Many people came in the movement from many different directions.
Right. But
they came and derived to one destination. And that's why I see with writers, what we do, we come from different angles, different paths. So I got off the path of history. It's like, well, let me go. This is my call. This is my call. The type that I do. And to expound and give you a whole different view of things. Because sometimes when a reader, some of us don't like to read.
Right.
And those who do, sometimes you can read and don't understand. But I just told you about the law of learning. You don't understand something, let it pass you by. Don't refuse it. Don't say, oh man, come on, man, that's crazy. You're losing yourself from that. So that's what it means. What you're actually doing is demonstrating what you don't know. When you say that, you cancel your information for advancement out. So what you have to do is like, all right, I don't understand it by now. Let me put it to the side so I'm prepared for it. So when it come up again, yeah, I know what it is now. I know what I mean. Yeah, I understand it a little bit better. Because all this information is for your proof. But it comes from different angles. It's your perception on how you take it, how you understand it. The understanding is the rock which man builds himself. It is the analysis of the heart. It's how you build yourself. So when we have our Sunday school, you may have, I'd say, a question, and someone may have a lot of answers. I'd say everybody's right. How can everybody be right? According to the understanding they are. I'm not here to I'm not to teach, but also to get you to think. Teach you how to think, not what to think.
Right.
That's how I teach. I teach you how to think, not what to think. So if your answer is different than their answer, I mean, I was like, all right, that's your rock. That's your rock. But you have to build on that. Like I said, I don't think the same way I did 20 years ago or 32 years ago in the temple. I don't think the same way. That's showing me I'm progress. It demonstrates in the book I write. There's research that I do. So I just keep in mind the humbleness and being a student along this long journey to absorb in my view what's before me and to distinguish truth from error in a whole different perspective, a different light. With no agenda. I don't have an agenda. You know, it's presenting information for the future. That's what Noble God did. He presented information for the future. But it's up to them, each individual one, to find out what he brought. He already told you where they were at. In the Quran, the question, the literature. He already demonstrated where they at. You have to study what's in it. What's lies behind these words. The pamphlet. The pamphlet itself means something.
Yes, sir.
And we have the pamphlet means a couple of things. Well, let's go ahead and pull up what pamphlet is. It'll be different than my new book is coming out. Because the pamphlet is a science in that. Pamphlet means guide or guidance without love. That's what it is. That's why the prophet has a pamphlet to guide it. So you open it up, divine instructions. So he's instructing you on information. So you have to understand what is instructing. What is instructing to you? Key note on that. In regards to the word pamphlet, which signifies a moral tone, and in the spiritual direction of its content and spiritual meaning, as we should find in the life and the event of Yeshua, which is the study of Jesus' life. The reason why that's in there, because we study his life in regards to expression of being which manifests as energy, activity, and force. Life is the active principle. Substance is the thing acted upon that principle. The idea behind the stories of his life is that you must conceive and revel in and the knowledge of your own situation. That's why it's there. So when you read it, you have to put yourself in the position in the lesson. So when you open the Quran, you in the hall of mercy. And you don't even know it. So every chapter is every hall that you're going to sit. And you're going to, what? He's going to teach you.
Right.
In every hall. The 47 chapters. In every hall you're going to sit. So you leave one chapter, you're going to go to another one. You're going to go to another, going to another one. So every hall running, this one you're going to sit. So you are going to learn if you open up your mind and be humble.
Right.
Now the keys are the keys. The keys means the knowledge, in which the problem will be solved, and you will be opening the door to opportunity.
Indeed.
So every chapter you're going to is a door to opportunity, but it's up to you. But your mind got to be prepared for it. You got to be prepared. That's why, like I read, in the Prof, you got to be prepared for this. Sometimes go over people's heads. You need to prepare. How can I get prepared? You got to open your mind. You got to be humble. You can't cancel out all information. You can't cancel out all information.
Wow. That's it.
You have to be open. So you say, hey, that's the possibility. How did that possible? Huh? What does that mean? What's the significance of that? All right, yeah, I understand. All right. And then you begin you begin to grow. You know, the European system killed the growth. The system is always going to have you like a child. If you look back and look at it, it's always going to have you like a child. It's not designed for you to grow spiritually or intellectually. The only thing that we're doing is regardless of the fall of man. The reason why man the fall of man, is that of those who fail to recognize the spiritual mind shining within them. And they dwell in the continue to a state of darkness and ignorance. And the general sense, the fall represents the descent nature of spirit into matter.
Oh, that's it. Fall of man, chapter 1.
Yeah, that's why so you understand why I fell. That's me. How did that fall? You know, and then we got caught up along the way. Some other stuff, but you spirit into matter. So what only matters is what you think that it matters. So think about it. Like, and if you're going back to the word I matter. I and me. Who's me? Who's I? I'm getting in the car. That's my car. You know, the terms like, think about that. Ask yourself that. You know, we have to think about these things. That's my car. We possess them.
Yes.
We become possessed. That's my car. You know, that's mine. These children, that's my toy.
And that's
I
ego.
learned, what did you say?
I said, and that's ego.
Thank you. You got it. You got it. But without even me going to it, you got it now. Praise Allah, bro.
Praise Allah.
Now you know what the I is.
Right. Praise Allah. Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. Got it. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Brother Eric, once again, gratitude, honors to you, breathing this holy breath. You brought a lot. Well, look, anytime, Mo, you want to do this again. I know this is your first interview, and it's a powerful discussion. It's just a powerful one. Anytime, Mo, this platform is always open to you.
Praise Allah. I like to do one on meditation. and go into the Quran in different verses on the different levels of it.
We will make that happen, brother. I promise you that, because I know the people want to hear, the people need to hear this coming from you. And I loved every minute of this. And I know everybody who stayed to the end, I know they enjoyed it as well. Praise Allah. And people will be able to play this back as well, of course, on YouTube. So again, check it out. Get the brother's book, Noble Soul. And we will conclude this episode of Masterminds with Brother Shem. Brother Eric, thank you. And we will make this happen again, brother.
Let me say one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna say my books. A couple of things I always say, and I know it's in my book, but in a couple of them. But one of the things I was gonna say in regards to my last statement, I was always gonna incorporate in my last statement. But what I want to say is this: voice of movement. Let love be the fragrance of your aura, so that you will absorb the pure essence of you. With that, I said peace.
Islam, brother. Gratitude.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. Peace.
Praise Allah.